Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel. And with me tonight are minions SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
Sora Luna. Oh.
Hello, sorry.
There she is.
I'm here. Hello.
First audio problem 10 seconds in. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
At least she waited till we were alive.
Damn Canadians.
Sunfish. And Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
Who is made her saving throw yet again.
Yes.
How was your day, Serenity?
It was good. I'm trying not to sneeze into the mic. Hold on. All right, there we go.
Okay.
I didn't think you'd want that. So.
Well, considering that it's kind of warmish and I've got the back patio door open, and there's a skunk that likes to go through my backyard. If you suddenly hear me swear and then things moving rapidly, that's me closing the door. So I'm risking it.
So Nigel 2.0 is what you're telling me.
It's Pepe. He's Pepe. Nigel's Nigel. They're totally different things.
Individuals in their own right.
Yeah. Stupid skunks. I don't need random mammal things going. I'm willing to let the possums just live and let live. It's like, you want to be a possum and you want to wander around and eat bugs, knock yourself out. I don't care. But skunks and rats and mice and all the other mammals and squirrels just, you stay up on the power lines where you belong and up in the trees and just stay away from me and we'll be fine. But if I find any...
Mark Rober's obstacle courses.
Yeah, if I find any acorns inside my engine compartment, we're going to have words. I don't care how cold you are, little inferior rodent. That's right. Did I ask Serenity how her day was?
Yes, you did. And I said I was trying not to sneeze, but
you're trying not to sneeze. Okay, good. How are you, Sora?
Oh, decent. I had to go get my foot x-rayed today.
Ugh.
Because I kicked a wall 2 weeks ago and that it just jumped in front of me, okay? It wasn't there 1 second, and then the next second it was there.
The wall knows what it did.
That wall bit my foot.
That wall just won't listen. It just won't listen.
I will see in a few days. Well, that's being too optimistic. I will hopefully see in a couple weeks. I'll get the results.
A couple weeks?
It's Canada.
Well, it's a holiday long weekend, so they probably don't have anybody who's going to review them until Tuesday, and then they're going to have to send it to the referring doctor, and then I'm going to have to wait a few days to see if they call me, and when they won't call me, I'm going to have to call them.
Great Caesar's ghost.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm used to whenever I hurt something that it happens like the same day I'm in the place. I'm sorry. It's just I'm used to.
Yeah. I had a
it's not
and,
really. It's
and
nothing else. Like, even if it's fractured, there's nothing much you can do. It's the pinky. So.
Yeah, because they just tell you.
Well, you need to know, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You need to know. But I went to Stanford several years ago, had a kidney stone, and they ended up. I think I was there in the afternoon. They had me in an abdominal CT scan by, I think, 5:30 p.m. And I knew what the radiologist said by 8 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they
capitalism
have
for
those
the win.
Polaroid X-rays, right?
Yeah.
Not like Canada.
Yeah. No. Well, from what I've been able to determine, not just from talking to you, Sora, the situation with medicine in Canada it's deteriorating pretty rapidly with quality of service and the whole way.
It's gotten beyond shit show right now. So
it makes me sad for all the people who, like, not saying you don't need it, but for the people who need it because they have no choice. And they're just kind of stuck, and it sucks. And I'm sorry. If it means anything, we're trying to get medication from Canada, and everybody keeps stopping it. So we're trying to give you all money.
Is that the thing? Is that the Florida thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did not include that in today's show. Well, that's been happening like forever. So I guess the short version of it is that the federal government is preventing Florida from importing prescription drugs from Canada.
Yep, because it's cheaper.
Cool.
Wait, how are you getting? So, like, people are just coming.
Oh, that's been happening for years.
Into
like
Canada.
For decades. Yeah,
how are
people
you
will cross
getting?
the
Because
border.
there's only, as far as I know, there's only 2 doctors who in Canada who have cross-border privileges for prescription.
Oh, you're
Oh.
assuming it's completely legal.
They used
Oh,
to-
okay.
they
Sorry.
used
No, no, no,
to-
no. Okay, no, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we're not talking
Under the
about
table crap.
an individual getting a prescription. We're talking about wholesale buying them from suppliers there.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
moving
okay.
it here.
Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
my mind went to the little fish.
Yeah, they use
I was like, how are they getting that? That's amazing. That's very expensive.
How
they use
get
the
them across?
Swayze Express.
Yeah,
So
basically.
wow, because I know there's one. There's actually one doctor. I think it's New Brunswick, maybe. No, one of the Maritimes who has actually the legal ability to prescribe both here and in the States. It's some. I don't even know if he's still practicing. It was some very special like certification, but
Well, I'm sure.
there I go.
There you go. How's it going, Skep?
I'm doing okay. Just
You holding up
old
all
and
right?
mean. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like I am.
Yeah.
And I noticed that pedo Hitler was trending on Twitter today, and that's not something. Pedo Hitler? Really? There's a pedo Hitler?
Yeah, I was
And then-
not aware that was one of the varieties.
Yeah, exactly. And then you realize that they're referring to the president of the United States,
Ah,
and that's
Yep.
trending. He basically got on TV and told us that he's only president of some of us, and the rest of us,
Yeah.
people who don't support him, are effectively fascists who don't deserve any voice in government or any voice in the public square.
well,
And then he
He
walked it
really
back.
said that.
we will be talking about his imaging problem in 2 stories, if that's okay. So just
That'd
put
be
a
excellent.
pin
Anyway.
in that.
So I'm that good. I'm as good as a guy who found that out about his country.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel great.
Yeah.
Feeling great about it.
All right. Well, let's see. Shall we begin?
The begin.
Do that.
We should begin
and
at the
make this
beginning.
Bigger. Thank you. So, right now, Tesla, who sells cars and solar panels and battery backups for things, they sell battery backups for houses and businesses and things. And they have a project that they're working on with PG&E and Southern California Edison. They're also building one of them in Australia, which they call a virtual power plant. Now, what this essentially means is Tesla, since these things are connected to the grid, with people voluntarily choosing to be part of this, can essentially use all of these distributed small battery backups as if they were a huge power plant. And in the beta program, they're currently pushing something on the order of around 20 megawatts, which is a fart in a whirlwind for California. California, when we're having these kind of power issues, uses 45,000 megawatts. So 20 megawatts doesn't really mean much, but they're just trying to prove that this technology sort of works. Now, in terms of Tesla being able to essentially take their customers' equipment and leverage it to sell power when power is very, very expensive, it makes money for them, and then they give a little taste to the people who own the equipment. So currently they're paying $2 a kilowatt. So in exchange for using your batteries to basically support the grid, you get $2 a kilowatt for whatever extra you push out. Which is, more than pays for the battery stuff. I mean, so the homeowner gets a taste, but the potential for Tesla in terms of them making big money is also there too. This could end up being a huge part of their business before too long.
Depends if other places follow California's proposed stance, which is where they start charging the very people who are selling back to them.
Well, that's the Public Utilities Commission has their, everybody wants a piece of the pie, right?
Oh yeah.
But just looking at this as a business opportunity for Tesla, it's
You know.
not such a bad deal for them because
Oh, yeah.
essentially
It's
it's all software. And it's a
Yeah.
good deal for the utilities because they can essentially get more power on demand, and they can say even how much power they want. They can say, well, we just want 20 megawatts or 100 megawatts. I think this is going to be a lot more mainstream soon, and you'll be seeing a lot more of these things. So they've done 4 of these events so far this year. They did several of them last year. And so events 1 and 2 lasted for 3 hours. And then events 3 was 1 hour. And then event 4, which was today, was 4 hours. So overall, as more and more people sign up for this thing, it seems to be, I think this is going to be a big deal. Because why not let everybody make a little taste, get a little bit of the action.
I mean, it is a big deal. It just depends on how much someone in the governmental stance fucks it up for everybody else.
Well, the government can always fuck things up.
I know. It's like, how much can they? That's the interesting part. Not saying that it shouldn't be done, but it's like, how much are people going to screw this crap up?
You are so black-pilled.
I'm actually not that black-pilled. It's just on this kind of stuff. I'm just waiting after the whole Kalima thing. I can't.
Yeah. Well, there's... Oh, so did you hear about the Colorado thing?
Which one? Like, what are you talking about?
The one that's been massively misrepresented today. So what people have been talking about is in Colorado, utility companies have basically hijacked people's thermostats. And some of the hyperbole I've heard people say, oh, there's these people in their houses and it's 90 degrees inside and they can't turn on their AC. Okay, so none of that is true. There's a program, and a lot of utilities have them, where if you have like a smart thermostat, you can basically enroll in this thing. Yeah. And they give you lower priced power as long as you agree that in one of these emergency things, and they limit the number of them that they can do and the duration. There's usually some kind of term, so it's not that bad. That they may reach into your thermostat and change the value that you can use, the amount of power, or the amount of cooling you can use. And in this particular case, it was set to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, not 90. But if you hear people talking about it online, it was some pretty shoddy journalism, even by independent YouTuber standards.
Wow, that's shoddy.
Yeah, well, it's like Skep. You have these people in Texas who got completely and totally screwed because they chose to do these market spot price contracts for their power.
Right. Yeah.
And they saved a whole bunch of money up until power got really scarce when the wind turbines started freezing.
That's exactly right.
And they got these huge bills, and it's like, well, you opted into it. It's not, I don't know whose fault it is that you didn't read the fine print.
In fairness to those people, that print was pretty fine.
Yeah.
That was an utter surprise to most of those people. It wasn't like something that is called out. This is so important that it's fine print that you've got to make your initials by it, to where it wasn't even called out that much when they signed up for it. It was in a high pressure, sales situation that it almost always is with these things, and they always come down. Are you just going to leave money on the table? This is the same power. You won't notice any difference, except you do notice a difference. And that's a false promise. And many of those salesmen made that promise. I got pretty close to that, looked at it pretty hard. And, once I realized what it was, I said, no, I'm going to continue to buy from, have my price managed by the power company. Thanks. I don't want to try and back down a bunch of commodities brokers selling me expensive power. Fuck you.
I'm checking the chat here. And Assassin's saying, yet people are having their thermostats hijacked by the state. Oh, okay, I don't know of any instances in the U.S. in a private home where this has happened. Now, there are edicts that come down where they say you have to, on commercial businesses, you have to follow certain rules. Because, of course, the state's got their little grubby fingers in every damn thing. And the state's capable of doing all sorts of evil things. I just don't know of any instances where the state has, without people opting in some fashion, gone in and done this to their thermostats. So it doesn't mean that you're not right, but I just don't know of any instances of it. I mean, have you guys heard of any of them? I mean, any that they're sort of credible?
I mean, I haven't heard any, but it's just like, I don't know. Like, to me, I understand people sign up for this stuff, and I get that, but also we all know that, well, most people don't read the fine print. And I don't agree with houses being put at 79 degrees.
Well, we're going to talk about student loans in a bit too. And You know, so I want to, if we're going to do this, people don't read the fine print approach, I want to be consistent about it when we get to that.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be just as consistent.
Okay.
It's just my issue is that I don't know, is Colorado a really humid state, or is it just
No, it's dry. It's
Okay,
dry.
then
dry,
79 's not
dry
that
as
bad.
bone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hot,
then
dry, or cold, dry. Take your pick.
Yeah,
Well,
that's exactly right.
if it's 79 and not humid, okay, they're fine. If they did that shit here in West Virginia where we had 91% humidity, burn in hell.
Yeah.
That would be
That's
my
true.
stance.
Yeah.
But if it's a dry heat, they're fine. They'll survive. They're Colorado people. The air's so thin, they'll just pass out.
Yeah. So some young guy came by the other day and wanted to sell me a security system for my house. And I said, "Did you see all these stickers around here?" It's like, that's all. I've already got that taken care of. I already installed my own system. He said, "Oh, look at that camera over there. Is that going to a monitoring thing?" He said, "No, it's going to my private FTP server. Any other questions?" And it's like, how would you like a smart thermostat? And I'm like, no, I would not like a smart thermostat or a smart anything in my house. How about a smart door lock? It's like, no. The kid was not listening to me. I don't want any of your Zigbee horseshit automation nonsense in my house. I don't need any of it. I can get up and go turn the lights off when I want to.
Yes.
You don't want to clap on, clap
analog
off?
thermostats.
No. I've fallen and I can't get up. No, I don't want the clapper. That was a pretty funny ad though at the time. You're not old enough to remember when that ad came out for the first time, I don't think, Sora.
I've totally seen them on TV all through the 90s.
Oh, you saw the newer versions, but when
the newer
first came out, it was just these sad old people in bed clapping and being excited that the lights went on. It's like, I'm old, I can't get up and turn off the light.
Good thing I can clap.
Good thing I can still clap. The government can't take that from me. Oh, look, we have people we need to ban. Will you take care of that for me, Skep?
Yeah, man. Nothing.
Thank you, sir.
Got it.
Okay.
Apparently we're popular enough for 69 Mega to come here.
All right. So anyway, yes, there's this thing going on. I would never in a million years get home automation, but this could be a generational thing. When I've spoken with much younger people, they don't seem to care about stuff like this much at all.
I'm too paranoid. Like, there's certain things that I don't mind automating. Like, I don't mind the Roomba having automation to it, because even if it maps the house, I clear that out every single time it tries to map the house.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not having automated door locks. I'm not having a smart thermostat.
Yeah.
I'm too paranoid.
I didn't even think about the Roomba mapping your house thing.
Oh yeah, no, I don't let that thing map the house. I don't let it keep it.
Creepy.
I make sure it's cleaned out. Because
you've creeped me out.
Sorry.
Well, mine doesn't have any Wi-Fi or anything attached to it, or low power anything. So it can learn internally and map out whatever it wants to. Simone is not that smart, so that's why I don't have a Roomba.
Well, it gets
But
worse
she's pretty.
in the new. It gets worse in the newer ones, because the newer ones, once it maps the house, you can tell it what parts of the house it is, so you can tell it's the bedroom.
Nah, I don't want.
Yeah,
that.
I'm like, nope,
you're gonna get robbed.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. You know, you can rip these new thermostats out of the wall and put in your own thermostat.
Oh, I've got a thermostat. We still have the old turning thermostats from like the 70s in this house.
I've replaced automated thermostats with analog thermostats.
Oh yeah, no. My mother refuses. I agree with her. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, well, I replaced my Mercury switch thermostats with automatic thermostats, but they don't have any communication stuff on them. How do I know this? Because I looked at the circuit board.
Yep.
You know, when
But
I
what if
installed
there's
it
a secret
myself.
circuit board in there?
Yeah, maybe there's it's like in the fourth dimension or the fifth
Yeah,
dimension.
exactly.
It's in hyperspace, so I can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be in a hyperspace quadrant. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the ticket.
He gonna get you.
No, it's Simone is not very smart. Simone is my little automated vacuum thing, and it just follows sort of a search pattern, like it's looking for a puppy floating in the ocean or something. And it just does its thing and manages to mostly not get stuck. Every now and then it starts saying, you know, I forget what she says when her wheels don't touch the ground, but it's just one of those things.
Help me,
Karen.
Daddy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just strap
Good
a knife
times.
to her. She'll
All
stab
right.
anybody who comes to the house.
Oh my
So-
God! Did we watch that guy who like rigged his Roomba to scream
Oh God, yeah, we did. That was a long time ago. Oh,
and yell profanities?
I like
When
the one that
it-
where the guy puts his knives on the Roomba and
yeah.
spinning blades of death. That's cool.
Oh God!
So, Joseph Robinette Biden was giving his little speech. Let's see.
Luck.
This is the thing that everybody's been talking about, right? The thing that
Yeah.
has the terrible imaging.
The gates of hell speech.
Yeah, so he's doing this thing here.
Democracy endures.
President Joe Biden in his primetime
Oh,
speech.
now somebody else is talking. But you can see this red background and this ominous everything. What the hell is he doing? I mean, you guys talk about this, because actually I think you guys are more worked up about it than I am. Why don't we start with Skep? Because
I
you
was
were...
going to say, go Skep.
Well,
Yeah.
Here we have, first of all, just the marketing, the merchandising of a president who's already got an image problem, is already seen as a divisive as hell president. Let's give him the most divisive speech we can write. Let's write the most divisive speech we know how to write, and that still has any chance of passing muster and being spoken by this guy. And let's put him in front of a backdrop that looks like it should have abandoned hope, all ye who enter here. It should be the gates of hell, and with the Styx boatman off to the side, delivering the next batch of prisoners to hell. And he gets up and delivers what amounts to a hateful pseudo indictment of what he calls the MAGA Republican right. And basically, everybody who doesn't agree with him is a MAGA Republican, unless they are just this narrowest class of Republican who mostly agree with him anyway. What you and I call prostitutes. And he gets up, delivers this speech, and
Uh-oh.
over this. I have not found any other than the reliable sources of fluffing. I'm not seeing anyone with anything good to say about the speech.
Yeah, you don't want to go out of your way. It's ironic that all these people claim to be uniters, and then the first thing they do is divide people.
Yeah. You 80 million are bad. You're evil. You want bad things for you want to divide us. You are racist. You are bad. You support Donald Trump. You are MAGA Republicans with all of the, pronunciational inflections, that lead you to think that they're saying maggot, and sometimes they just call them maggots. Some maggot, with a bumper sticker, Trump bumper sticker. I'm just done with this. I'm just tired of it. I'm not a Trump fan, but these assholes are going to drive me to his arms.
Well, I'm not a Trump fan, but I'm willing to give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
He was right about a lot of things. I still think it was cute when the Germans were laughing at him like, oh, how quaint this stupid American is worried about us and our energy policy. It's like, yeah.
Morons.
Yes. I mean, how many times are we going to have to say, well, Trump was right about that, and he was right about that, and he was right about the other thing. He was right about an awful lot of stuff.
But people dislike his personality so much that they won't even admit that he's right. And people will say 1 = 2 in order to they will directly contradict reality and know that they are in order to keep from agreeing with Trump.
Well, I think, Serenity, you were going to show some stuff. Did you want to screen share on that, or was I supposed to click on it?
Well, I sent you some of the memes, but the one I didn't.
However you want to do it.
I did. Hold on a second. I'm messing around with some stuff. Okay. Let me go back to the Discord. Where did the hell we? My favorite one is the Kali Ma one, but I'm gonna go here.
Because the memes are pretty good from this. The internet was not kind to Biden after this speech.
No, it was not.
Well, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, and the really funny thing is that I'm gonna share the screen now. Oh, stop it, Avast, you piece of shit, stop it.
Fast.
Yes,
Respect
StreamYard
my security.
Yeah, basically. Da-da-da-da. Do you see it? Oh, there we
Thank
go.
you, be full screen. Okay. I am not a demagogue. A demagogue I am not. Jesus.
That's one of the funnier ones, but it's very funny because apparently I think it was Daily Wire did a meme. I'm not going to show it out of fear that they might have something in the YouTube stuff to like tag it. Or it was basically they were insinuating he's Palpatine, and people were like, and it backfired because the Dark Brandon people have gone behind it. I was like, Dark Brandon is not a thing. It's a thing made up by a bunch of idiots who, once again, don't know how to meme. Like, they keep trying to make it seem like Joe's like standing up to people and being all hard ass. I was like, the dude, after he finished basically doing exactly what Skep said he did, then proceeded to waffle around the podium like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Where am I supposed to go? Like, that's not... It's fear-inducing, just not in the way they're trying to act like it is.
It's about as authentic as 50 guys wearing matching khakis marching down the street saying stupid...
Yeah. And
Yeah.
mysteriously having the ability to gotten together, and yet no one knew how that happened. Let me see here. I'm going to stop sharing while I go to the next one, because I have folders that I don't wish people to see.
Understandable.
This one's not from the... there's a bunch of them I found that were not from the actual like...
Oh, we might as well get our
speech.
Brandon memes out of the way.
Oh yeah, but some of them are kind of funny because they've also tried to do this with Trump. They've tried to say this stuff, and it's like, no, not the same thing. This one's one of my favorite ones.
If I had a nickel for every time Joe Biden threatened to use nuclear weapons and F-15s on his own people, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird it happened twice.
Yeah.
Man.
Can I just do a word for word from Joe Biden?
Go for it.
Yeah,
short.
please.
Joe Biden actually said, these are his exact words. I have not changed one. We cannot let this, we've never allowed an easy crisis from the Civil War straight through to the pandemic of 17, all the way around 16. We have never, ever let our democracy sakes second fiddle way they can both have a democracy and elections at the same time.
It sounds like you use
That's-
Google Translate to translate it into Mandarin and then
I
back
know.
into English.
I know.
What the hell?
That he said those words on April the 6th, 2020. That is from a LexisNexis fetch, which is considered the gold standard for quotes. And
Wow.
I am just, we have been listening to this now for a couple of years. I cannot believe that out of 300 million people, this guy is the most qualified man to lead our country. I cannot believe that.
Well, Skip, let me show you just how awesome the media is that's covering him, that's trying to keep him... Oh, wait, we've got one more meme. Here we go.
This one's fitting after what Skep just did.
Mr. Gas Station, tear down. Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Nice.
It's very fitting for what Skep just said.
It's
It's like,
nice.
perfect. That's wonderful, really.
I was like, perfect timing, Skep. Perfect timing.
All right, let's do this. This
Very fucking
tweet from
high.
CNBC.
Nice.
The budget breakdown of a 25-year-old who makes $100,000 a year is excellent with money. This is the finest work of fiction I've seen in a long time. $250 for dining out, $615 for donations out of typical spending of $2,775.
No,
What?
Wait, what?
What
615?
25-year-old making $100,000 a year is giving $615 in donations a month?
ones that are lying to the
and
people
has
who
rent
bought
that's
this.
only $8.25.
I was just gonna say they live in a slum. They give way too
Now-
much money to the church.
I will say I had a 1-bedroom apartment in a decent part of Louisville for $698. So I can say that. So at least for the
But that's Louisville.
true. But it's still bigger than where I came from. But yeah, the
it's
615
a lower cost of living area
yeah.
than California.
But
than
$615 for donations,
never.
I know that's
them
just
lying.
insane.
That's them
$20
lying.
internet, only $130 for transportation. House cleaner for $30. Where the hell do I get a $30 house cleaner?
Unless it's their mother.
Unless
Let's
we're
see,
just
Bob.
referring to 1 can of Lysol a month. I don't know.
Yeah, I was
what
just
that-
gonna say.
But this is basically the quality of journalism we're getting. This is from December of 21st of 2018. But it's still CNBC. You know, what a great group of people we've got working in journalism.
The thing is, like, most 25-year-olds are still on their parents' plan, so they're not paying cell phones, so that's bullshit. Most internet is always, at least every single time I've seen it, the internet is always part of utilities, and it's never $20. That's horseshit. Like,
All right. Let's see. So there's I want to complain about something. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the Quartering has started making sort of political style stuff
Yeah,
in short form. So like, here's a sample.
Form videos, then you know lunatics walk among us. But this person is perhaps the best evidence yet that our school system and perhaps their parents have deeply, deeply failed them. Check this out.
They, them, theirs. Okay?
Okay. The video is not the important thing. The thing is, I really don't like the Quartering in this form. I feel like he just looked at his expense, you know, his P&L at one point and just said, I'm not making enough money. I need to cash in on some of this short form outrage. I'd rather watch Ben Shapiro's little sister do this sort of stuff. She's really good at it. And the Quartering's really good at entertainment stuff. So in terms of like gaming and entertainment and that whole sphere, he does a really good job. But him trying to do this political stuff just feels weird to me. Is it just me being weird, or does anybody else feel the same way?
there's a lot, like, there's even some entertainment stuff I will not go to the Quartering for because, but like, also this video is old. Not him. The one he's using is old. Because I've seen this. This is like over a year old. So he went fishing for this.
Oh yeah, he's looking for outrage videos to make, you know, where it's like,
And
look
it's
at
like,
this stupid bedroom feminist, ha ha ha, but in YouTube short format, because he knows that the shorts, that YouTube is really pushing them in the algorithm. So he's going to make shorts, and maybe this is just easier to do in short form than his regular content. But isn't this sort of stuff supposed to be in Midwestly anyway, instead of on his Quartering channel, which is supposed to be the Happy Fun Game channel?
well, it's one of those
And coffee.
things.
Games
It's just,
and
I
coffee.
think he just, because shorts are like TikToks, and the fact that they're just easy, you don't really have to do that much, and you have a bunch of people trying to act like it's skill. But yeah, it's like, dude, you're not someone I would take any political stance from. You're allowed to believe whatever you want, no problem there, but I'm not going to listen to you about politics.
Yeah, kind of. Have we got Sora back yet?
I think she's back.
I am back.
Okay, because this next thing, I have to have you and Serenity here for. Skep,
all
right.
Skep, this is not going to be interesting for you.
Strap
but,
your butt in. Here we go.
All right, let's take a look at this. Variety. Timothy, I guess that's Timothy Chalamet arrives at the red carpet premiere of Don't Care at the Venice Film Festival.
Okay.
Is,
Okay.
is
He looks
this
like
male
it's
fashion now?
Oh, honey, yeah.
Look, is this? So, and that pose. What the hell is that pose? And
That's a
pointy
twink.
shoes.
That-
Jesus.
That's a
Ugh.
That's a twink.
I'm twink baiting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because Harry
so I can
Styles
get
does
money.
the same thing.
Ugh.
I
It-
mean, for all we know, that's 100% genuine. But I feel like this is queer baiting. But hey, I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him.
I don't know anything
For
about
the
him either.
people in chat who are going, who? This is the guy who plays a very predominant character in the Dune movie. But he's a French
Which
dude.
one was he?
He's for all intents and purposes, in the first movie, he's the main character. Let's go with that phrase. I'm trying not to spoil anything because I've read the entire series. But
Was he Paul, basically?
He's the main guy that was on all the posters with the bright blue eyes and everything like that.
Okay, so he's Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like this is just another form of the dandy shit that happened years ago.
Oh yeah.
So like when people get like, I don't find that attractive. I don't find skinny little twink boys attractive. I don't know why a lot of girls in my age group do. I never have.
Ew.
Yeah,
I can understand if like a teen girl,
yeah,
like a teenager is like, oh my god, he's so cute. Because I went through the oh my god, emo boys are so hot phase.
Yeah.
But no, that not as an adult.
But
so I'm not just imagining things. This is terrible fashion.
I will say though, I envy for having those curls.
Yeah, agreed.
That's my favorite part of the outfit. And the color. The color is nice.
Yeah.
Skep, do you own any pointy shoes?
No.
I don't either. I've never understood guys who would wear pointy shoes.
That's European. That's very European.
Yeah, European.
So
but Skep knows what I'm talking about. This is not a thing that normal guys wear.
No.
The
Pointy
red-blooded
shoes
Americans.
I own are cowboy boots.
Well, those are different.
That's different. That's a different thing. Those points are to kick the horse
pointy
in the
shoe is a
ribs.
pointy shoe.
I don't know. I don't like pointy shoes.
Oh, if you want to see some terrible men's fashion, look up Harry Styles. Holy Jesus!
Well,
But they're all trying to be Mick Jagger and David Bowie, and they don't understand that there takes a certain level of charisma to do that.
Yeah.
And while they're not unattractive, David Bowie and Mick Jagger were not stereotypically standardly attractive.
No, but they were also not standardly talented. They were extremely talented men,
which is also the other part that helps.
And that's part of the attraction to it.
But that's the issue: is that Harry Styles and Timothée Chalamet are stereotypically attractive, in my personal opinion. If they would just put some meat on their bones and actually get some like muscle, but that's me. But it's one of those things. They're stereotypically attractive, and while they're talented, they're not David Bowie and Mick Jagger in any way, shape, or form.
At least they're not Army Hammer.
Poor man.
Poor man.
That poor man.
What were you gonna say, Sora?
Yeah, you're gonna say something, Sora.
Well, you can see from his arms, he has at least some definition.
Harry
does
doesn't.
some sort of, or no, this guy Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying Harry doesn't. Harry Styles. That's right.
Oh, Harry doesn't. Sorry. Yeah. Again, it's not, and I'm with you on this. My problem with trying this out is that they are too pretty boy. You need a give and take. If you're going to go for that sort of theatrical aspect, you have to have not an attractive face, an interesting face.
Yep.
Which doesn't necessarily mean you're attractive. It's like when you call a woman, she's not beautiful, she's handsome. There's something about them, but it's not. Yeah, it's exactly. But I mean, whatever. Get your bag, boo.
Yeah.
As they say. But I feel like this is just. It feels like the people are being pandered to are eating it up, and they're too stupid to realize it. I don't know.
Well, I just want to take a fire hose and just right.
I want to feed him. I want to give him food and go eat, honey, please.
I want to feed him to a lion.
Well, let's talk about student loans for a bit, shall we? Now, I found this little clip, which I think is a beautiful little capsule summary of things. Let's just listen to 32 seconds of Elizabeth Warren. I apologize, but let's just check this out.
I just want to ask one question. My daughter's getting out of school. I saved all my money. She doesn't have any student loans. Am I going to get my money back? Of course not. So you're going to pay for people who didn't save any money, and those of us that did the right thing get screwed.
No, it's not everybody got screwed. When we started,
of course we did. My buddy had fun, bought a car, went on vacations. I saved my money. He made more than I did, but I worked a double shift. You're laughing. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. We did the right thing, and we get screwed.
I appreciate
That's
it.
all right.
Democracy is a beautiful thing sometimes.
I appreciate your time. Fuck off, bitch.
No, but he's absolutely right. And this is the same kind of argument I make all the time. I mean, I've made choices in my life. People say, oh, you don't deserve the things you've got. It's like, well, screw you. I've worked very, very hard and worked a lot longer hours than most other people do. And I'm not apologizing to anybody for the things that I have.
Nor should you ever.
Yeah, not going to. And This is part of the problem. The pie is shrinking. We're not as affluent as we used to be, especially after all this inflation. And now people are starting to sort of turn on each other like, oh, this person's getting something. Why don't I get something? And he's got a point, because why don't you get something?
Don't worry, Harry. That won't get worse.
Yeah, it will. It definitely won't get worse as we bicker over the scraps that are left over.
We are so fucked.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
We have just absolutely fucked ourselves in the ass.
I don't think we have. I think there's still a chance.
No. We are kind of screwed though. But you're both right. That's the thing. You are both right. We have a real problem. $10,000 isn't going to solve this problem. We have a whole bunch of people who borrowed a whole bunch of money that they can never pay back. Mm-hmm. And I hear the argument that, oh, well, we were told that we had to do this, otherwise we'd have no life. And we were told that we would get these fantastic paying jobs and pay it off. It's like, well, did you even bother to run a spreadsheet? How did you think that over $100,000 and, of student loans, when you're going to take a job doing social work that pays $50,000 a year, that you were ever going to be able to pay this back? There was no realistic expectation that you should pay this back.
They just figured a miracle would happen, or maybe the government would start subsidizing gender studies majors. But did you know there is a solution to all this, and it's really fairly straightforward. I'm not kidding. This is really the solution. And I did some just back the envelope calculations. Looks like the money's there too. You know who can afford this giveaway? The United States government cannot, but the schools, the university systems in the country can afford this, and can afford it fairly easily. Schools like Northwestern University, which has a multi-billion dollar endowment. Okay, that's basically cash on hand almost. Have no problem, and the other schools throughout the country, they should be well positioned to fund this, and I think the government should just do that. Should just say, you're on the hook for this. We promised it, and you're going to fulfill it.
So
it's a nice idea, but they're not going to do it because they all expect to fall back on universities to get paid really well. Like, someone actually called out Warren for. She taught 2 classes at Harvard and made $400,000.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Well, I think Sora was trying to cut in.
Yeah, sorry, Sora, go for it.
Oh no! My question is, where is the cost? Is it just because of the amount of population that the cost of an undergraduate degree is so high in the States? Because I just did a quick Google. Mm-hmm. And obviously it varies by institution and by province in Canada, but we'll say it's around, as of last year, it's an average of, in BC, you're looking at maybe, I don't know, $5,200 a year for undergrad, for a domestic student, which it has gone up about 1,200 since I entered, like out of university, when I graduated out of high school. So, and you get an undergraduate degree, and then you can go on anywhere else with that to get a master's or a PhD. And of course, it gets more expensive going for more specialized degrees. But like, why is it triple that for an undergrad degree in the States for the same? Is it because it was privatized before, or what? Because it seems more so that maybe changing the cost of tuition is the answer versus forgiving all this debt. I don't know.
It's like everything that's kind of caused problems down here in the States, it's the government's involvement in it that is kind of has caused a lot of this, and that's the issue. Not to mention the fact that also the pushing of like the illusion that a lot of kids are sold that going to college will make you better than everyone else and get you this magical job that does these things, even though at least when I was going to university down here, like we were still shown like, if you take this career path, this is what you will make yearly.
Mhm.
kind of stuff. So like at least the school I went to still showed you stuff. Like they didn't lie to you. It was this belief that you're going to make six figures out of university unless you're in a very specific field that ain't fucking happening, and even then that's a debate. There was a lot of people, at least in my neck of the woods, that, to put it very simply, there was a lot of girls who went to university to get their MRS degree and then didn't get it, and they went on to being nurses and teachers.
But now they don't need no man.
Which is funny because I don't feel like now that was a thing maybe like 20 years ago, but like by the time I entered, that's not a thing. If anything, you go to uni for parties, but not to come out with a ring, so to speak.
Well, it's like it's a difference of area because West Virginia is because you're more metropolitan than we are, and a lot of these girls do this stuff, and like you have a lot of guys who grew up in a similar kind of sense where they grew up with fathers who were big fish in little ponds, but they didn't realize that their dad didn't actually matter outside of the little pond. So they think they're going to go do the stuff their dad did. Then they find out, oh, I'm not that big of a deal. And then they try to go somewhere else and that doesn't work. But around here, it's the government's involvement that's jacked up everything, to be completely honest.
Let me break this into two parts. Okay, so we've got two problems. First problem is, what do we do with all these people that have amassed all this debt? Right? So that's part one. Part two is, what do we do about helping people go to school moving forward? Because changing the tuition rates, bringing tuitions and stuff down, bringing down the cost of education, totally great for solving problem number two, doesn't really do much for problem number one. So
I kind of agree with Sticks and Hammer on this, and that like you should be allowed to, at a certain point, and as much as I don't like the system all that much because I know people are going to use it for the wrong reasons, you should be able to declare student loans on when you go bankrupt. Like it shouldn't be exempt from bankruptcy declaration.
Treating it as double secret debt, sort of on par with taxes, is a bit much. It's foolish to assume that these people are going to be able to pay back these ridiculous loans. However we got to this position, there are people who have loans that are so big, there's no way they're ever going to be able to pay most of them back. With a time machine, we can go back and give them a warning about how they're not going to be able to pay it. That's one thing. So we have to decide what we're going to do about those folks. And then after that, we have to decide, what are we going to do, going forward. Let me just get rid of this window, because I think the next thing this was Trump's plan originally. Because what everybody wants to do is not let these people off the hook. They want to come back with some way of getting at least as much of this back as possible, because the government is on the hook for whatever they don't pay back. That's the deal they made with the lenders. So people say, why would the lenders lend all this money to these people when they know there's no way they can pay it back? Well, the government's co-signing on the loan.
Yep.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, are they just supposed to turn down free money?
Yeah, really.
So the lenders didn't do anything wrong in a business sense. Maybe morally it's wrong, but I don't think that enters into it as far as banking and giving out loans goes. So everybody wants to basically say, we want 12.5% of your discretionary income. Now, how you go about defining somebody's discretionary income, that's a fun exercise right there. Mm-hmm. And then if you can't pay it off within, 15 years as an undergraduate or 30 years as a graduate on the Trump plan, then they basically write it all off. But they're trying to get as much out of people as they possibly can.
It's like, give us something.
If you just make people suddenly declare personal bankruptcy to the tune of, what are we looking at? It's like 300 billion. And I've heard numbers that are a lot higher than that. Do you happen to know which one number is right, Skep? Are we still talking? No, it's 300 billion just for the 10,000.
Yeah, it's 300 billion, I think, for just 10,000.
And it's like over $1 trillion if we talk about just wiping
roughly
the slate
$1 trillion.
clean.
Roughly $1 trillion.
And that's where you were talking about using the endowments to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could see there being a deal where some of these schools might forgive some of it if the person wasn't able to find a job or something. But I mean, a lot of the doctors going into this, they know what they're getting into.
Oh, yeah.
They know that they're going to rack up a bunch of debt. They know that they're going to get paid crap while they're an intern. And until they basically get to putting together their own practice, they're not going to be making big money. But the payoff is that the long hours and all the hard work and the sacrifice will eventually bring them up into like the 400,000 plus range.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. Start your own practice and start
You have your
start
own
making the
practice,
money.
you make more than 400,000, I guarantee you.
Well, that's why I say 400,000 plus.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
you can make a lot more than 400,000.
Yep.
You know, depending on how many Medicare cases you take and a lot of other things. But even just with Medicare payouts, you can make a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things, like, there's no real good answer for this. I don't honestly believe it is, because there's just been too many, whether intentional or unintentional, fuck ups along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like I went to community college for 2 years, so I graduated with $3,000 in debt, and that was it. And I paid that off in like a year. And the thing is, I know not everything's like the way I ended up, but it's one of those, it's like, community college is a viability. These kids need to be told that, like, go to the community college, get as much as you can out of the way, and then go to university if you want to be something bigger. Otherwise, go for an associate's degree.
Well, they try to encourage people to do that here in California. The University of California system is an excellent system.
Yeah.
And the Cal State University system's got some pretty good schools too. And all of them, in terms of admissions, have a big block of their admissions set aside for basically people who transfer out of community college to then complete their undergraduate education. So they make it so that in terms of the available spots, there's some for people who get in right away with testing right out of high school, but there's a big bunch of them that you pretty much have to be a transfer student. So between the available slots for entry and the fact that you save a ton of money, they heavily incentivize people to do that already. And they have for decades in California. Because as you might imagine, our university system is massively impacted because it's a huge state with a lot of people. So as great as our university system is, it's just nowhere near big enough to handle all the people that want to go.
Well, it's also the how do I put this? The illusion of what university life is also part of the issue, because you have a lot of kids who don't want to do that because they want to go straight to university, because it's like, I need to get away from my parents because my parents suck. And in some cases their parents do suck. Some cases their parents don't suck. And it's because the amount of times I saw kids just running around, and some of it's the excuse of them being 18, but at the same time, it's bullshit. Like, don't sit here and feed me. You want to be treated as an adult, then act like you're 14. I honestly very much believe that we should have some kind of system where if you want to go to university, you need to either do Peace Corps or something for 2 years.
You mean like join the military and use the GI Bill?
Not just military, like Peace Corps.
Hey,
where
that system actually works.
No, it does actually work. And are those people going to be getting a check from Liz Warren? I don't think so.
Yeah, will I fall over from holding my breath, waiting for a check?
But it's and like, it needs to be that kind of stuff where it's like, okay, parents didn't save any money. I understand that sucks. 2 years Peace Corps, we'll pay for this much. 2 years military, go for it. Otherwise, or something similar in the charity sense, that kind of stuff. There's also, like, to be completely honest, most of these kids who are in debt also didn't bother to look for grants. There's so many grants out there that you don't have to pay back, because that was part of how I got under them.
There are, for a lot of people, it gets a lot harder if you have a particular skin color and a particular set of genitalia. But even so, there are a lot of grants out there.
But it's like, a lot of this was just, it's a lot of it's just people. They either are using college as an escape from the life that they don't want because they don't like it. So they go to some big college in some big city that they end up flunking out of or doing terribly in. So they end up staying in there for 6 years, 5 to 6 years, so they're overspending. They then proceed to use their student loans to buy cars, because I knew people in university who pulled this shit, who use their student loans to pay for cars, to get into the fancy ass apartment, to buy the MacBook Pro, to buy the DSLR camera, and all this kind of stuff, instead of doing the knuckling down, either living with roommates or living with your parents or living a little bit further away from college. There's also the fact that a lot of universities now make you have to live on campus for the first 2 years. Like, you can't get out of it unless you're a local, which is another way that the universities are doing bullshit in order to make it so they make more money.
Well,
But
they can fatten you up in the cafeteria too.
Yeah.
What is it? It's the freshman 15 now?
Yeah, freshman 15.
Or are
yeah.
we up to the freshman 25?
I think it's still freshman 15 as far as I know.
That used to be called the freshman 5 when I was
I know.
in school.
Yeah, not anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of my issue is mainly that there's no way to fix this. And I don't think people's debts should be forgiven, because I have friends who've literally just let their student loans just defer for years and won't pay anything back. And they're like, well, I just won't get anything on my tax return. It's like, that's not what the point is. I understand you didn't complete college. I get that. It sucks. But at the same time, you took that loan out. You weren't a naive 20-year-old, 18-year-old. You were in your 20s. Don't try to act like you didn't know what you were getting into. Pay your shit back.
Yeah.
Now,
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's like the really funny thing is, apparently my state, if they take the $10,000 or the $20,000 forgiveness, West Virginia counts it as income, so they will tax it. So, forewarning. I know. I'm like, oh. And none of them know it either, and I haven't told them. Because I want to watch them when they get the tax bill. But I truthfully, y'all, anybody who's listening to this, if you want to warn your friends about that, you can. But there's like 14 or 16 states where that's the case, and West Virginia is one of them. I think California. No, California's not. But there's quite a few of them where it's like, we're going to count it as taxable income. Screw you. So we'll at least get some kind of money back. It'll just go to the state, though.
Because we can. Well, we could talk about this all freaking night, but we have to move on to the next thing. But I'm going to tighten this next one up just a little bit for time.
Tighten up. Aren't you?
So have you
have
you guys heard about this whole Oberlin College thing where they sort of went to war with a bakery because they thought the bakery was racist?
Yep.
Yes. Yep. That was
Yeah.
at Oberlin, right?
Yeah, Oberlin decided to do this, and it's gone through all sorts of litigation and finally ended up in the state Supreme Court. And state Supreme Court said, just pay them their damn money.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking about after interest of them dragging their heels and everything after the
How
judgment.
much is it now? How much?
It's coming up on $40 million at this point.
That's what I'm talking about.
And Oberlin just won't let it go. They are just still firmly committed to this thing. Now, there's
this better than candy.
I know I'm going to actually give the link to the Jonathan Turley thing, and I'll just put it in the chat for everybody so that you can go back and take a look at this. But I just was amazed at this whole thing here. Yeah, they're just doubling and tripling down, and the longer they wait, the more money they have to pay.
Yay.
Well, it's kind of like this now sets precedents for people who are falsely accused of this kind of stuff to go after the universities, because I think it's Duke over the last week, a BYU female volleyball player said that someone had said the N-word, and Duke banned someone, and it got found out because they had multiple cameras from different directions and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
No one said the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
And they banned a guy, and they're still looking for a second person, even though the cops have said that they don't see any proof of the thing. So, God, I hope they sue the pants off Duke. I'm gonna laugh my booty off.
Well, it was her godmother who threw up a big stink.
Yeah, who's running for public office, by the way.
Oh, I did not know that. How interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, very interesting.
Her father brought it up too, and her father wasn't even at the game either. Like, neither of these people who brought it up were at the game. But I'm glad they're continuing to win, even at the Supreme Court level, because, like I said, this sets precedents so people can go, well, look at this shit. Pay me.
Well, the college didn't have to get involved in all this. So
Nope, they
a
didn't.
black student was accused of shoplifting.
Yep.
And if you look at the records of all the people that the store had gone after for shoplifting, there's no evidence of any kind of racial bias in
Yep.
the people that were reported. But in this one particular case, this person was accused of shoplifting by the store, and the people in some of the departments, like the African Studies Department of Overland, got unhinged and calling for boycotts. And they used things like the mimeograph copier machines and the Oberlin letterhead for the signs that they were having printed up and were handing out to people. So they totally screwed up. It wasn't just that a professor at the school happened to be offended. It was like they used the resources of the university, and then the university just went all in on it once the lawsuit came down, because they're just like, well, we're going to show you. Well, you're going to lose. And they have lost, unless they can manage to take this to like federal court, but it isn't going to happen.
A lot of this is the president. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just about to say, like, between the boycott and I think someone graffitied the place too. But yeah, go ahead, Skep.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this has to go at the feet of the president of Oberlin College. Do you know anything about Twilly Ambar?
No.
She does not go by Carmen. Everybody calls her Twilly. She is the current president of Oberlin College, and she's very young and very idealistic. She is just a perfect child of this system, and she is a real, true believer. She was, she's got like Georgetown University's credentials and Rutgers, the classic Northeastern liberal routine. She became the 9th woman to lead Douglas College and was the youngest dean in its history. She was dean of Douglas College until 2008. She became president of Cedar Crest College. And this woman is 54 years old, and she, in 2017, she was named 15th president of Oberlin College. And so she's been there for a while. And she's got a foreign service degree from Georgetown and a master's from Princeton and a Juris Doctor from Columbia University School of Law. She essentially never worked outside the university system, has never done anything but this. And I think a lot of the problems have to be traced back to people like Twilly Ambar, who have never been outside that system. And she is a victim of what she perceives as her own academic sophistication, but in reality, she hasn't seen how the world really works. This is true of a lot of people who spend their lives in academia and go directly into government, for example. Same kind of prejudice obtains. They don't know how the real world works. If you never started a business, but I really do divide the world into two groups of people. People who have started their own business, people who have sucked it up and said, I'm going to be my own boss, I'm going to be responsible for my own time, and I'm going to see if I can make money do it, and roll the bones and do that. And the people who have not. The people who have done that make better managers of resources, time, and materials than people who don't. I think one of the big problems in the country is actually a managerial problem. We have the wrong people in managerial positions. We tend to put academics, people who have distinguished themselves doing something that is not management. We put them in a management position and don't recognize that that's a special set of skills, part of which needs to be a thorough grounding in reality, which I think Twilly Ambar does not embody.
Well, hopefully Jill Biden has more real-world experience.
God.
But I can tell you before I move on to the... To the her Dr. Professor Jill Biden.
Surgeon General.
Yeah, I have it can kind of ruin you. So I have a customer that I'm doing some consulting with that's looking to spend about $200,000 on some equipment. And I am using every ounce of self-control I have not to ask the following question, like, has anybody talked to any vendor other than your favorite vendor? Because they literally called up their favorite vendor and said, hey, how much will this cost us? which is so not how you do this, you know? So my experience in like the various things that I've done in the past has sort of prepared me for this thing. People are shocked at what good deals I'm able to negotiate, because my negotiation style is like, I just go in and say, if I am going to go with one vendor, I'll say, give me a quote that's so good I don't need to look for another one.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, this is what we're looking at. I said, if you don't get too greedy, I can probably just, get you a PO and we'll be fine. But this whole, call vendor X, ask them how much money they want to charge us, and then send them a PO is just... No. It really offends me, because I'm fairly sure I could cut 25% off this, no problem.
Yeah. God, I went to business school. I know it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I went to business school of Hard Knocks. The first,
well, and I've also
company...
been through. I went to the business school of Hard Knocks first. No. Then I got the academic degree. I've done it both ways.
Yeah, the first business that I ever worked for, my first job. Well, not working like tutoring and doing stuff on my own, but my first job where I had a paycheck, where I was an employee, was at a business where the guy who was running it just ran it right into the ground. I got to watch a business failure. A hard business failure up close and personal, and you learn a lot from that.
It's instructive, isn't it?
It's extremely instructive. But speaking of preparing people for the real world, I've noticed a trend. Amazon is trying to sell me toys for some reason. I don't know why.
Yay!
Yeah. So, like, for instance, there's this great toy. Melissa and Doug Diner Restaurant. So you can...
That's so cute.
Are they selling children now?
You can get like a little diner seat, and you can get a little outfit so you can pretend you're working in food service.
Wow.
That's really cute.
It's teaching some good values here. Or they also have this thing here. Look, you can get your little fake supermarket. And,
oh my God, I would have been all over. I created my own supermarket on my bookshelves when I was little.
$319. It's like if the parents would take this and put this into like an educational savings bond.
This is the only reason to have children, to buy toys that you play with.
Yeah, teach them how to work in the market. Look, you get little fake money, and there's a conveyor belt. You turn a crank.
They're the best.
You know, I look at that and I just see choking hazards.
Yeah. See, it's a Sora right on there. See?
Nice.
I like this. This is amazing.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
So if you're going to major in gender studies, though, you got to be looking at a career as a checkout person, and that's probably good training.
Yeah, this seems like good training. Let's set the kids' expectations accordingly. No more, learning how to be a fireman or a doctor or anything like that. No astronaut. You're not going to pretend to be an astronaut, because unless you're like a lesbian or something, you can't be an astronaut now.
That's going to be an interesting thing. How are they going to get Lizzo into space? They don't have rockets that big. She's as big as 3 regular astronauts.
But you see, she's lighter. We weigh lighter in space, depending on which planet you are. So they just have to get her out to
I forgot
orbit,
about
she immediately loses weight.
Yeah,
I guess I forgot about that.
I was thinking about like one of those launching things where basically it's like a catapult, and then I was thinking of her, and I was thinking, I think I know what the nickname for that device is going to be called.
Yeah.
Ground controlled. Okay. Anyway. So this is preparing kids for the future. This is good, wholesome values at $319. What was the other one? the food service trainer, oh, it's only $268. So between the two, you
Yeah,
can
but you
teach
get
them how
more.
to
It
do.
looks like you get more stuff with the other one.
Yeah, well, this actually comes with a little costume, so you can pretend you're a food service professional. So
Look, he's so cute.
yeah, this is great.
This is
So
so
on to something not anywhere near as pleasant.
Yeah.
We were talking about this on Tuesday that Mikhail Gorbachev passed away.
Orby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I wanted to kind of bring this up, but let me just play a little bit of video just for context here.
Note making global headlines at this hour. We have learned this evening that Mikhail Gorbachev has died, the last leader of the Soviet Union who helped end the Cold War and the threat of nuclear war. And we've also learned tonight of his final request. Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the Soviet Union, rising to power after 7 decades of communist rule. He helped end the Cold War. Breaking the mold of the Soviet leaders before him, he was outgoing, charming those he met. Heads of state, Fidel Castro, Margaret Thatcher, Pope John Paul II. The image of him with then President Reagan and Vice President George Bush, the Twin Towers in the background. Here, driving President Bush in the golf cart at Camp David. Born in 1931.
Yeah, so Mikhail Gorbachev, I think it was his immediate predecessor was Khrushchev, wasn't it?
No, it was Yeltsin, wasn't it?
No, I thought Yeltsin.
Yeltsin was after.
Yeltsin was after. So, well, Khrushchev was basically trying to clean up all the Leninist or Stalinist crap.
No. There were Andropov. There were other people.
Oh yeah, Andropov,
Khrushchev, Kosygin, Brezhnev, all that jazz.
But they had all this old school communist purging nonsense going on, and so
yeah,
he was like the last guy in that line of people trying to clean up that mess. So there were two parts of it. One was glasnost, which was openness, because he knew that their closed society was not going to hold up in a world where they were surrounded by people that weren't living under the heel of the government. And also perestroika, which was restructuring.
Right.
The general... Yeah, because he
Glasnost came first.
Glasnost came first, yes.
Because he realized that they could no longer be a closed and shut-in country. They were going to have to treat with the rest of the world. And that was his strategy. He didn't want to lose communism. He didn't want to lose the Soviet Union. But what he wanted was better relations with the Western world. The problem was when that happened, as always happens, when you have new sources and uses of information, when that became when the West became tantalizingly close to the Russian people and the Soviet Union, the Cold War was doomed. The Berlin Wall was doomed when that happened. He didn't have to do much, and he really didn't do all that much. It started happening under his feet, and he said, "Holy shit, a parade has started. I better run out and get in front of it." That is really my opinion what Gorbachev did.
Well, if you look at the economics of, well, the situation that they had economically, militarily, the writing was very much on the wall. And he was always a pragmatist. In fact, when it came time for him to go, you can hear him in interviews saying, "I was trying to prevent a civil war from happening, because a civil war in the Soviet Union with all these nuclear weapons and generals and arms around everywhere would be a bad thing." Yeah. He said, when it was time for me to go, it was time to go. But before that...
In the Soviet system, the local commanders can arm a nuclear warhead. That's something to consider.
Yeah, he didn't want his country nuking itself in a civil war. Yeah. So he's very pragmatic. But before that happened, and that was in the 90s that he stepped down, but before that happened, he saw the writing on the wall. And because the writing was obvious, it was in 30-foot tall block capital letters. And I wanted to just sort of give you one little piece of it. My hypothesis, because there wasn't time on Tuesday to talk about what my hypothesis thesis is. So if you go back to the space race, right? The Soviets originally envisioned building like a permanent space platform in Russia, in orbit. preferably directly over us with nuclear weapons pointing at the United States. And guys like Werner von Braun and his Soviet counterparts were more than ready to build something like that, because we definitely had the capability to build space platforms and put them over the top of each other's countries and just turn the threat level up to 11 that was already at 10.5.
Yes.
So Kennedy quite cleverly did the thing that we all know that Kennedy did.
As well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
No conflict in space.
Because it's hard.
No conflict in space yet. He puts it right in there. No conflict in space yet. The point of us going to the moon was to give the Soviets a goal so bonkers, so impossible, that they could either accept the challenge that we laid down in front of the entire international community, or they can either build their platform or they can try to go to the moon, but there's no way in hell they can do both. They did not have the money after we'd already, pushed them pretty hard on the strategic arms race. It cost them a lot of money to make all those nuclear weapons and deploy all those missiles and do all of that stuff. It was not cheap for them. And they didn't have a thriving economy on the same level that we did. So the space race, which they failed at, even failing at the space race cost them a ton of money. We ultimately went on to go to the moon, and we ultimately reaped the benefits of that. I mean, we got very lucky that more people didn't die, actually. It could have been a lot worse.
The Soviets went to the moon, too. You didn't
Sorry?
know a lot about it. The Soviets went to the moon, too.
Well, yeah, they crashed right into it. Yeah.
No, they sent a rover to the moon.
Yeah. Well, the first thing they sent to the moon crashed.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And so did we. Our first thing crashed, too. But they were just trying to hit the moon.
Yeah.
And they eventually got a rover to land.
But what did we get out of Apollo? We got a much better off semiconductor industry because we had to invent all this stuff for Apollo.
Yeah.
Not only did we choose to go to the moon, we chose to do it in the same freaking decade.
With defective orange juice. Tang.
With defective orange juice. But we did have pens that could write upside down in zero gravity and
could flip a circuit breaker when you wanted to go back home.
Yeah. So we did this, and we got like fantastic, a huge boost to our domestic semiconductor industry, and a lot of that stuff would have happened anyway. But I mean, we essentially turbocharged the development. So we go into the 70s, and we've got all these circuits, we've got all of this know-how, we've got all of these things that are being developed. We're becoming computerized, and the Russians are trying to. But it's just so much harder for them because they don't have the economic wherewithal to go ahead and build these things out. I wanted to show you
when you get to the end of this topic, I have a little bit of benediction or just an interesting bit of trivia I just uncovered from a surprising source, and I've been meaning to mention it to you.
Okay,
I wanted to do it on the show.
I'll save you.
It has to do with the space race. It has to do with American astronauts. It's something I found out.
So there was this article just recently, because in Hackaday, which is talking about a video that was being done. So it says like in 1986, fairly close to when the whole Berlin Wall started coming down. Right before that, the Soviet Union had about 10,000 computers. The United States had 1.3 million. That's a little bit of a gap. And computers don't just mean, they're not just a novel toy, even at this point. We're talking about two different classes of things. There's like supercomputers, which are the things that you use to build, your nuclear devices and and do all those important military things that countries do. But there's also the small computers that run all the businesses. All of that stuff, even before the internet, computers were coming in and making a lot of things work a lot better than they would have otherwise. So I was looking at some of the examples. So in this particular image, you see these Soviet guys dealing with a computer. Well, this is actually a clone of something called an IBM 360.
Yep.
So this image is from, I think, the mid-70s. And the computer that they're looking at is an IBM 360 clone, which was originally introduced in the 60s, early 60s.
64. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this was their cutting edge stuff. And I can look at another example right here. This is the CV of Dr. Verena Koromoskaya. And there she is working on her stuff. So in 1976, she was actually writing software for a CDC 160 series computer.
That's
now,
what I'm talking about.
This is it. So and she was doing nuclear weapons research.
Holy shit.
Now, the thing is, they would get these computers, but they didn't have access to, let's just say they didn't have after-sales support. So, like, all of the software and stuff that you need to make these actually do anything, they didn't have. So they were able to smuggle a lot of this stuff out and eventually get it into the Soviet Union. But they didn't have the means to really run these things. So they had a lot of very smart people in the Soviet Union who figured stuff out, like Dr. Can't pronounce her last name here again. She was one of the people that made this sort of stuff work. But the problem is they're still using a system that was designed by Seymour Cray when he worked at Control Data in 1960.
Yeah.
And she's using it in 1976. So she's working on 16-year-old equipment to try to basically compete with the U.S.
And if you think 16 years meant a lot then, well, 16 years would mean an eternity now.
Yeah, it sure would. So I looked at a bunch of different resources. So in terms of PCs and things like that, there was an embargo that went in during, I think it was 1979, to try to prevent the Soviets from getting a lot of this stuff. And it worked. They did not have PCs for small businesses either. And they were trying to make their own semiconductors. And there was a big brouhaha within their community there. They wanted to make their own stuff and have their own programming languages that were in Russian as opposed to in English. They wanted to do this whole homegrown thing, but the trouble is that the consumer stuff going on in the West was just pushing development at an unbelievable pace they could never even keep up with. So Gorbachev was essentially looking at his country becoming irrelevant and obsolete in real time. The gap was absolutely devastating. So I looked at this article from Byte magazine, April of 1984. And in this article from Byte magazine, it was titled Soviet Microprocessors and Microcomputers. There's the following two paragraphs, which I'll read to you. In considering how wide a gap between Soviet and American development is, it is interesting to note that the appearance times of the Intel 3000 series and the corresponding Soviet K589 series. The 3000 series was introduced in the US in late 1974. A specific introduction date for the K589 series is unknown. However, the earliest examples of its usage appear in 1980 Soviet literature. If we assume the K589 series introduced in late 1979 or earlier, it would indicate a 5 to 6 year lag in development time. So even with them trying to grab every single thing they can get their hands on, they were still in personal computers behind by 5 to 6 years at least. And we're looking at like an almost 16-year gap in supercomputers. They were getting their asses handed to them. I mean, in a huge, massive sort of way. And just to sort of illustrate how big the gap was, let's look at the computer history page for Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. So we go to, let's see here, 1974, CDC star, Cray 1. Okay, remember, she's still using a 1960s computer in the Soviet Union. They've got a Cray 1 right here.
When was it? 1978?
I'm looking at 1978 for the Cray 1. So you're comparing what's here. Parallel computers are starting up. The Octopus Network, which was an early, somewhat high speed for the time thing that connected the Crays to the storage systems, the printers, everything else. This is all new stuff that they were doing. The Soviets were so far behind. It's not even funny. So by the time Perestroika comes in, what are we looking at? Cray 2, Cray XMP, Cray YMP, massive computers.
That's so cool.
These are just like amazing things. The Cray 2
the
is a
Cray
fantastic
2,
thing.
The Cray 2s were using IBM 4341s, at least in a couple of the configurations that I see, as I/O machines, because they're the only thing at the time that was fast enough to ship enough data to them, fast enough to do that modeling crap that they always do on supercomputers.
I actually have the core spindle from a Cray disk pack somewhere on one
do
of
you
my
really?
shelves here. Yeah, I do. It's pretty cool.
That would be some decent computer porn to show.
It is, but I'll have to bring it some other time. But my point being that, there were lots of things that were going on. Communism is not good for your economy to begin with, right? You can't really have a planned economy.
No,
Comparing that to
what I was trying to
capitalism
say,
is
though,
the problem.
in saying the 4341 thing, those I/O computers were 16 years ahead of what was in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union had nothing like the Cray at this time.
No. They didn't have the computer, they didn't have the storage, and even if they did get a Cray, they didn't have
the
software.
languages or operating systems.
They didn't have the software, and it wasn't like you could just
or a VM. Yeah.
You couldn't go on the internet and just download GNU C. You had you were just screwed. Yeah. So even if you got a copy of it, where would you get a copy of Unicos, which was the operating system they used at the time? You couldn't. I suppose you could get an old version of it out there, but it's just they were fighting such a huge uphill fight. Glasnost wasn't going to cover it. Perestroika wasn't going to be enough.
They were programming in, what was that language? L76, the language that didn't change for 20 years.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm sort of beating up a little too much is that Gorbachev knew what the writing was on the wall, and he had no choice but to basically give up. The Soviets were basically just doomed, and if it wasn't the computers, it was going to be agriculture, and if it wasn't agriculture, it was going to be some other darn thing. There was just no way they were going to succeed. But you wanted to tell a story about the space race. But first, before that, is there any questions about the stuff that I was just talking about?
Mm-mm.
Nope. Okay.
Well,
I think I made my point.
If I will make a quick suggestion. If anybody wants to see an interesting, very accurate portrayal of post-communism Europe, or it's mostly when the Berlin Wall fell, check the movie Goodbye Lenin. It doesn't talk about necessarily all this tech stuff, but if you want to see what life was like for a regular person, according to my mom, everything's exceedingly accurate.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't even keep the lights on, and there's reasons why Chernobyl went down the way it did, and it was because they were in scarcity constantly. And they made really, really, really bad decisions because of their system and the way their system worked.
Did they have rolling blackouts like California does?
Well, I think they at least tried harder to keep the lights on. Here they just kind of shrug and go, well, Greta. They don't care.
Bless their hearts.
Nah, the best way to control people is to turn the heat and the light off when they least expect it.
It's more effective as a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like it when I'm
yours might not turn back on.
When I'm up in Silicon Valley and I'm trying to take a shower or something, and then the water stops one, and my hair, I've got shampoo in my hair.
My best friend, she's from Brisbane. When they had that really bad drought. Quite a few years now. Obviously every year it's bad, but there was one year where it was phenomenally bad, and they were on 2-minute shower restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
There were actual cutoff valves installed because now, to be fair, it's individual places, but still, it was kind of expected you would put this, she said. And it gave you that amount of water for your shower. So,
Ish.
but I mean, hey, I think that's a good skill to have. Shower in and out in 2 minutes. But it's
Especially
it's
if you have
pretty
long hair.
nasty.
Yeah, well, at least they're
Yeah.
showering with fresh water, right, Skep?
Yeah, exactly.
But you were gonna tell me a story about the space race before we move on to the next
yes.
thing.
Oh, it was just a dumb thing, really.
I
It
don't
was
care.
just something I discovered. Growing up with my dad, you occasionally have these moments, like the time he casually mentioned, "Yeah, I just came back from a conference, with Neil and Bill. Neil is Neil Armstrong, and Bill is Bill Anders." So you suddenly get surprised by these really cool people Dad gets to hang out with. So I went down to see Dad last week and spent a few days down with him. We got to talking. I said, "How did you get to know Ed White?" Ed White was the first American to walk in space in the Gemini program. I said, "How did you get to know Ed White?" And I said, "I knew you were classmates at Michigan." He said, "Oh yeah, we actually lived pretty close to each other, and they were our bridge partners." I never knew my dad was bridge partners with the first man to walk in space. Absolutely blew me away. You don't think of Ed White as a guy playing bridge, and according to Dad, they were quite good at bridge. I got the feeling that Dad and Mom got killed by these people. They were
Yeah,
very
I would
competitive.
imagine. Well,
Very
I'm going to
competitive.
give you credit for not pointing out who one of the people was that founded Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Because you know one of them. Edward Teller.
Well, yeah, yes, absolutely. He's absolutely critical to a lot of the formation of the physics infrastructure in the United States. There's, Lawrence Livermore was the Livermore Labs was one of the places where he was active. Dad really got to know him, back much earlier.
Mm-hmm.
When he was the chief advocate for and eventually the father of the hydrogen bomb. And I remember Dad being completely sold on that. Oh, they're foolish not to just go completely with the H-bomb. I remember Dad talking like this back in the 1960s when I was a little, 7, 8-year-old kid.
Less fallout.
Yeah, it's just
Cleaner. We'll just nuke him and then just walk right in. It'll be fine.
It was Killikami for mommy, 100% in my house, and that was how we talked. And then I would not meet Dr. Teller until Dad went to work for him in the Pentagon as the secretary of the scientific advisory board to the president. Dr. Teller was Dad's boss. Dad was the secretary of the board, and Teller was the president. Dr. Teller was the president. He used to come over to the house, and I would play and sing Tom Lehrer songs for him, and he would comment in his deeply accented voice. "Oh, that's so amusing." Only it's not a German accent; it's more like a Hungarian kind of accent. But you get the point. I was just he's the most ordinary guy in the world. Just you wouldn't even look at him twice. Just not, and he's a nice guy too. He's very happy to talk about his achievements. I'll say that. but he's that said, he was always kind and gracious to me and my family.
Well, you can't move around as much government money as he did and not be good at self-promotion. That's one thing guys like that all have in common. But,
absolutely.
Though I digress. No, I think Lawrence Livermore National Lab is one of the crown jewels of the U.S. intellectually. It's a fantastic facility who's done a lot of amazing things. one of the few places I regret not having worked in my life.
That's one of the only, if you'd worked there in CERN, I'd say you have all your tickets punched, my friend.
Jet Propulsion Lab would be another
JPL
one.
would be
There's only a
nice.
handful of places that are just sort of like dream job to work at, and one of them would be
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence Livermore. The other one would be JPL. Just
JPL
take your
is
pick.
awesome.
Do you want to look inward or outward? Pick your lab based accordingly. Anyway, though I digress. Let's see. Do we? Oh, I think I was going to skip these things because Functional's not here. But I'm going to just go ahead and do them anyway because I can. What do you think of this, the KFC gravy burger?
No.
I mean, at this point,
Ew.
Look at that.
No.
What do you want in it? I reckon that'll do.
oh, it's in England.
Oh, it's in
at
England.
Oh, okay, that
Pure
explains
gravy
things.
boat.
Okay, how does it being in England explain anything?
They have a weird.
They don't have high standards for food.
No, it's more of they have a more weird obsession with gravy than Americans do. I don't know why. It's just it explains it. to
You
me
ever
at
been to
least.
Georgia?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's just like because first off, any good-natured country person would be going like, "You don't put brown gravy on chicken, darling." At least not that shit. You make mama's gravy on there. You don't do nothing else. But I digress.
Yeah, but that gravy comes out of a pouch.
I know.
It comes out. You basically open it up, and it's like this nasty powder, and you add hot water to it, and then you whip it up. It's not like real gravy like
Oh, I know.
your mama would make.
I know.
You know, you want to get like all the bits in it and put the milk in and the roux, and you want to make like a white gravy,
Right.
like chicken fried
Roux,
steak.
Yeah.
If you put chicken fried steak gravy on that thing, I would be all in.
Yeah, well, that's a different story, but you know that is reconstituted crap.
It's reconstituted TVP, and it's just not good.
Yes, exactly.
Not good.
That's the
It's
reason
like
why whenever
weird
any
fermented soy, but not soy sauce.
Mostly fillers and preservatives with a flavor payload, as they say in the food business.
Oh God, what were you gonna say, Serenity?
it's the reason why whenever anybody says Americans are fat, I'm like, oh, honey, the rest of the world's catching up to us. Don't even start with me.
Okay, well here, okay. While we're here, what about this?
Oh, it's real. The hands.
I would eat it.
Strawberry.
I would eat it too.
I would eat
down.
it.
So much sugar. Oh my
I'm
God.
down.
Damn right it is.
No.
Only
I'm-
one Pop Tart. You're breaking it in half.
God no.
Yeah, stop
Yeah,
being a
yeah.
wussy, Harry.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
They come in
Yes.
packages of 2 for God's
Damn
Yeah,
it.
fair.
You don't need to put a Pop-Tart around vanilla ice cream.
You
You don't even
don't.
put a lot of
Yogurt.
Ice cream sandwich. Are you kidding me? That's just brilliant.
That's amazing.
Nothing but brilliant.
No.
Yeah.
See, Green Badger gets it. Hard pass. No.
Wussy.
It's just too much. It's too. Things can actually be too sweet.
You're not
It is
eating
possible.
it every day. You're eating it like a one-time.
It's not a question of how often you eat it. It's still too. It's too much. And it's,
No, it's
no.
not.
See, Geodes is right. The diabetes would be worth it.
I would eat those things separately. The way they're
And-
supposed to be eaten,
No, no,
not
no, no,
like
no,
this.
Yeah,
Oh no,
this
I
is
think
good.
this.
You
is
want to make
solid.
it better? Get frozen Greek yogurt, which is
Yeah.
a bit tartar, right? So it
Yeah,
cuts
yeah.
down on
Good
the
call.
sweet.
Good call.
Or frozen Icelandic yogurt because we're fancy that way.
Ooh, like some skyr.
Exactly. Yeah, something to provide some counterpoint to. Oh no, God no. Okay, let's see. Let's
Actually,
get
I
this-
like the yogurt idea.
The
To
yogurt
point
sounds
where
better.
I may actually try that.
I would.
I'm
I
sorry.
might try
I
that.
haven't had Pop Tarts in so long. That's just
It's
giving me
only
craving.
in Southern California.
You don't have grandchildren.
Yeah, really.
No.
Man, I would just much rather just devote those calories to In-N-Out Burger. I just no.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, In-N-Out is
In-N-Out
quality
is
burger.
is a good damn
good
burger.
enough. It's a good enough burger for what you pay for it. It's amazing value.
Want to know something interesting? When this came out,
Yeah.
It was $1.49, but you could get it for free if you purchased it along with a super bacon cheeseburger.
Oh, I thought you had to give away a piece of your soul or something. No, it's just
At that point, you just give away a piece of your heart if you're eating that thing.
no.
Oh my god, it's in a package.
Piece of your pancreas.
This is awesome. I'm sorry, I'm finding all the old pictures because this is from like 2013. This is
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about something we almost never talk about because I don't like talking about it every week. Let's talk about COVID. So you guys probably know or may have heard of Leanna Wen, who was one of the most annoying, super hardline public health people when it came to COVID. She was just terrible. She was one of those people that go on TV and say, I don't trust people who won't get vaccinated. One of those idiots, okay? She was really bad, but now that was then and this is now. Let's check this out.
Dr. Leanna Wen is a Harvard-trained Rhodes Scholar, former Baltimore City Health Commissioner, and former head of Planned Parenthood. These are all her bona fides for public health. And about 600-odd people signed a letter from the public health world asking to cancel her, to deplatform her because she's supposed to speak this fall. Why? Because she dared to say that people who are vaccinated can go on and live their lives, that kids should go back to school and they don't necessarily have to wear masks and do all that distancing stuff. In other words, what the CDC said. And the best part was she's fat phobic. Why? Because she dared to tweet that maybe you shouldn't eat Krispy Kreme donuts every single day. There might be better options for health. Oh God, no. No.
Yeah, so...
Are you trying to kill my grandmother?
Exactly.
Apparently.
So they have gone all in trying to basically cancel her. So this is an example of the kind of nonsense she was saying not that long ago.
To replace it with another, and so all these layers are important. For example, if everybody around the child is vaccinated, if there's improved ventilation, if there's indoor masking, if there's regular testing, all these things are going to be important. So it's both true that this is a dangerous time for children, and also that schools can be very safe if we take these precautions. So you ask.
Well, guess what happened? Her kid was doing all this sort of stuff, and she noticed come around 2022 time and Omicron showing up that her kid wasn't developing as fast as she should have been. And so she suddenly had a huge change of heart after she watched her kid not being well served by the policies that she was trying to ram down everybody's throat. So she's done an about face, which is fine. I'm actually all about redemption. I think redemption is a beautiful thing, and I think she should be able to have redemption as well. So in the Washington Post, as of August 23rd, she just had an opinion piece. I'm a doctor, and here's why my kids won't wear masks this school year. So she has come around to, I guess, what most of us here in this chat would consider to be logic. But these people want to make it so that she can't essentially deliver any kind of talk at these conferences because she's just a big meanie for saying bad things about Krispy Kreme donuts and daring to suggest that people don't have to wear masks for the rest of their lives.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, there was this thing in Reason. I'll provide the link to everybody if they want to take a look at it, because it's actually kind of an interesting thing. But she went from terrible to at least being somewhat reasonable. I mean, she learned from her mistake, but there are these people who want us to never go back to the way things were. I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration to think that these people think that they're entitled to never getting sick ever again, and that you should just wear a mask forever and just get a vaccine anytime somebody tells you should, as opposed to it being an individual choice that people make.
The amount of, and I understand where they're coming from, but the amount of people who talk about being chronically ill, which at this point, I don't believe as many people who say they're online chronically ill as they say they are, but the amount of them who are like, this means death for me, you pieces of shit. It's like, most of you, like, unless you are really badly chronically ill, like hospital practically, most chronically ill people can take the vaccine. Like, you're okay. Like, this is not a death knell for you. Like, you're not gonna die of this. Like, do you want to just hide in your house for the rest of your life? If that's what you want to do, that's fine, but don't blame me just because you're looking for an excuse to hide.
Well, the
feels
big
like.
discussion right now is about excess mortality, right? And you hear Dr. John Campbell talking about it. And I don't necessarily have an opinion about excess mortality, but this is what people are starting to do. They're saying, okay, so we had this many people who got COVID, this many people who didn't. How many people died extra that, from other things that we didn't anticipate? And that's the hard number where you go, well, how much damage, if any, did the virus do, the vaccine do? How much damage, if any, did the lockdowns cause?
Yeah.
And you look at the total number of people who died and go, why are there more than there would have been otherwise, based on the actuarial things? Because Skep will tell you, actuaries are really good at figuring out when people are going to die and how many of them.
They're real picky.
It's a science. It's a thing we know how to do, because if you don't do it right, people lose a ton of money on the insurance game.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is explain all these excess deaths that shouldn't be there. And nobody's entirely sure why, but they do know that the last couple year period was pretty unique.
I don't know why.
The problem is when you take a population of a country like the United States, that population represents a very complicated system. When you introduce something foreign, something unusual, something with its own set of rules, something that affects a lot of hard and fast parameters in a very short period of time, you introduce a sudden change into that complicated system of human beings and interrelationships, and the consequences of the introduction of that new factor, in this case COVID, can be almost impossible to predict and very hard to tease out not just the indirect effects, which are manifest, but just even teasing out the direct effects and ascribing the proper causality for them. There are a lot of points of debate there. There are a lot of things to talk about, argue about, and it's easy to chase down rabbit hole and see things that seem intuitively appealing, and they'll turn out to be valid or not valid, just depending on how far you can investigate them further. Anyway, my point in saying this is that when something like COVID comes along, very unpredictable things happen, and it's hard sometimes to figure out how much of a particular phenomenon that you observe once something like COVID gets introduced, how much to ascribe directly to, the effect of COVID, and how much would have happened anyway just because of societal trends and other things that naturally influence how we live our lives day to day.
Yeah. Well, I love this.
None of that probably made any sense, but it did to me.
Yeah. Well, the people who were trying to deplatform her from this conference that's coming, this public health conference, they said, through her platform on news outlets and social media, Dr. Wen has promoted unscientific, unsafe, ableist, fatphobic, and unethical practices during the COVID-19 pandemic. To support the claim that Wen subscribes to views which are unscientific, the petitioners point out a tweet from March of this year in which Wen noted that everything has risk and zero COVID is not a viable strategy. I don't know. That sounds like a statement of fact to me.
Jesus.
I mean, everything does have risk and zero COVID isn't a viable strategy. The CDC is not saying that. It's endemic at this point. It's obvious that it's endemic. Well, China's still, I don't know what the hell China thinks it's doing.
I think it's trying to cover for the fact that it doesn't have food. But anyway, but it's still in its own way, through their stupidity of trying to state zero COVID, they're proving that zero COVID doesn't work. Because you literally will watch them, in a second, declare, oh, someone had COVID. And then you just watch people, run out of, panic out of malls because they don't want to get locked in, because then they have to get tested. It's zero COVID is not it's never going to happen. It is never going to happen. The sooner people get that through their thick skulls, the better off everyone's going to be.
Well, there are too many places for it to hide, and it's just too contagious. Sorry, Skep.
This lady, Dr. Wen, she's pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. She was born in Shanghai, China, in 1983. and moved to her parents to the U.S. when she was 8. They were granted political asylum. They settled in Compton, East Los Angeles, and they became U.S. citizens. Her mother died in 2010 from breast cancer while working as a hotel room cleaner and a video store clerk. And her father delivered newspapers and was a dishwasher. She took the early entrance program examination at Cal State University, Los Angeles at 13, and she graduated summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry when she was 18 years old. Graduated summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry when she was 18. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
She has 2 master's degrees, one in economic and social history, the other in modern Chinese studies, both from Merton College, Oxford, England, where she was a Rhodes Scholar. I mean, she's fucking amazing.
Yeah, but she was amazingly wrong about a lot of stuff during
she's
the...
been she's typical.
But she's not dumb.
Outside she's never been outside the health board.
Yep.
But so she's got those problems. But I mean, she was president of Planned Parenthood, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But when she was in there, she worked to expand the non-abortion services like maternal health, mental service system, and to rebrand Planned Parenthood from its image as an abortion mill. And she's an interesting person. She got forced out of her job at Planned Parenthood, by the way. And the board gave no reason, but everybody knew why. Everybody knew why.
Got to get her to get with the program.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry how I do go on, but I just wanted to say that in her defense, and she has been wrong. She's typical liberal believer in liberal nostrums and fables, but she's also very right about some things, and she's worth listening to.
Should be a fine person to argue with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have no problem arguing with her.
Yeah.
So
I'll try and get her on the show Tuesday.
Yeah, get on that. So we've got this problem with Paxlovid. Remember, sort of the thing is it's endemic, and if you're in a risk group, you can just take Paxlovid and it'll cut down on the COVID, and everything's going to be just fine, right? Well, Paxlovid isn't really panning out quite the way everybody hoped it would turn out. Everybody's talking about this whole rebound thing, right? So people will supposedly take the drug, feel better sooner, and then the next thing you know, a few weeks later, they're testing positive again for COVID. This is really not the outcome that anybody wants with this drug. And the government's already spent a lot of money basically buying it and handing it out to pharmacies all over the place. So
it has to work. It must work better than it works.
Yeah, I believe this is the sunk cost fallacy.
Right.
So I mean, if something were to happen to Sora, if you suddenly got COVID, what would you basically do?
Me?
Yeah, you. What do you think would happen if you suddenly got COVID? What would you go? What would the progress? How would you deal with that fact?
I go to bed.
You'd go to bed, and would the medicine be able to do anything for you?
Probably a mix of ibuprofen, paracetamol, cough suppressant. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paracetamol have codeine up there?
No. Maybe you can get it with prescription. I don't know, but not over the counter.
Probably.
Hoping.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things that if you're really, really sick that they can do to help. Steroids and things like that. That back when we had the problem, but now that we're sort of in the Omicron.
They don't want you to go anywhere, though. So
yeah, but now that we're in the Omicron days, right? It's not as life-threatening. It's not as serious. They just tell you to stay home.
Yep.
Yeah. So
stay home, bitch.
Well, the idea was, I was going to, I'm going to go get tested and I'm going to take Paxlovid and it's going to cut it down and it's going to be fine because the government's helping me. But this Paxlovid thing isn't really panning out all that well. And furthermore, there's this study, I think it was from Israel, 109,000 patients, and they essentially looked at these patients and found that for the group of adults 40 to 65, because we don't usually give Paxlovid to younger people anyway, there was no real measurable benefit. In a sample of 109,000 patients, they couldn't find a measurable benefit. So not only does it not get rid of the COVID for real, but in terms of keeping people alive and out of the hospital, it doesn't really seem to do any good unless you're over 65.
But what exactly is it supposed to? Because other stuff, they reduce fever. You know, you have stuff that is a cough suppressant. Other stuff that helps you expectorate mucus. There's like what is this supposed to do?
All right, and I've got an answer for you that the press secretary of Karine Jean-Pierre would give to you right now. I'm sorry, we don't have anything on that right now.
Yeah, press Muppet, Jean-Pierre. Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. Now, there are things that you could do if you talk to your doctor. I mean, MedCram was actually, they had a video recently where they were talking about NAC, and I'm not giving anybody medical advice, okay? So just let's get that straight, Susan. But using things like NAC, and of course melatonin, there are all sorts of things that you can do that you can talk to your doctor that might help. But Paxlovid, I'm not really sure it does much good for anybody unless you're over 65.
From what Yale Medicine says,
yeah,
I wouldn't take it.
It says it's. I'm gonna say they literally go. How does Paxlovid work? Paxlovid is an antiviral therapy that consists of 2 separate medications packaged together. When you take your 3-pill dose, 2 of those pills will be nirmatrelvir, NIRMATRELVIR, which inhibits a key enzyme that COVID viruses requires in order to make functional virus particles. After the N-word treatment, the COVID virus that is released from the cells is no longer able to enter uninfected cells in the body, which in turn stops an infection. The other is Renavir. That I know. A drug that was once used to treat HIV and AIDS, but is now used to boost levels of antiviral medicines.
Yeah, and what it does is it prevents your body from essentially breaking down the first medicine as quickly. So to make the first medicine work better, you take this other medicine, which basically interferes with the breakdown of it.
Yeah.
So the second medicine is just it's just a helper. It's just like, I got you, man.
That's basically what they're saying it does, though. That's like all it does.
Yeah.
Which, if it worked, would be wonderful, but it very obviously apparently doesn't. So it kind of defeats the purpose.
Well, I know people get annoyed when I call it P-news, but P-word news, we just have one little thing here, and people may have seen the meme already. But
an Italian man is believed to be the first patient diagnosed with monkeypox, COVID-19, and HIV all at the same time. Previously, it was not believed that monkeypox and COVID infections could happen simultaneously, but the man tested positive for COVID last month after returning from a trip to Spain. Well, he then went to a hospital seeking treatment for a rash, which turned out to be monkeypox. He was treated for both of those viruses and sent home to isolate. He was also placed on a combination antiretroviral therapy.
He was placed on a lot of therapies. He's an Italian guy who went to one of these like weird
raves.
Gay orgy super spreader things in Spain, and he managed to pull the hat trick of getting AIDS, monkeypox, and COVID-19
nobody does stay like the Spanish. Can we say that? Yeah, I'm just saying the parties are the best in Spain.
I know. I mean, what are the odds of actually managing to pull this off? It's like, well, I don't know, but if you are going to get all 3 of them at once, it's probably going to be at a Spanish orgy.
Yes, exactly. It's like seeing Turkish prison, Spanish orgy. It's just
Spanish gay orgy.
So we are going to stop streaming on the Minions and keep streaming over on the my channel.
And how will you accomplish this technical route?
I'm going to very carefully stop the stream here, and then we will keep streaming over there. So for anybody who doesn't want to join us over on my channel, I wish you, I give you my thanks for showing up for tonight, and I will see you again next week or on Tuesday or sooner. And for the rest of you, here we go.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when.